Join me in a deep breath, knowing that breath is the breath of God, Spirit, Source. And as the energy in this room moves around and settles into a place of peace and quiet, receptivity, trust, safety, all those are spirit. Spirit is in the house. And while at times we feel spirited and joyful, other times spirit calls the shoulders down out of the ears. And here we are today, not snowed in, not even blizzarded in or rained in, but just a day, a beautiful day, a day of gratitude, a day of joyous connection, a day of being open at the top to what might sneak in when I'm not looking in the way of wisdom, self-awareness, and love. How might I open when I'm willing? Oh, yes, I say, I am willing to be open. I am willing to change. I am willing to know what works, and I am willing to change when it doesn't. And I do this in gratitude and in vigorous joy. Because my growth is upward, and I know this to be true. Each of us might not even feel like it, but we're going up. The flow of spirit being an upward motion, my opinion. It's a good one. In gratitude for today's teaching, in gratitude for today's energy, the love, the connection, the community, this web that we weave between us that lasts all week long, all month long, as long as we keep working it. As long as we keep, and I keep touching into that source of all. And I know I am of that web. I am of that all. It is not separate from me. And it is good, as is all of it. And so it is. So taking a few breaths and settling in for a couple of minutes of contemplation.
Before I do my regular talk, the official talk, I want to talk about Minneapolis. Yeah. There's some stuff happening there, yes? In case you haven't been hiding out under a rock for the last 3 or 4 weeks, there's stuff happening there. And because we're all one, there's only the oneness. Whatever's happening there is also happening here and in here. We're all part of it. And I've been called to look at that. So I sat in meditation this morning, and it's part of an ancient drama that's been taking place on this planet for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And the way that I saw it was that it's the spiritual, the nature of spirit, the divine nature, this wonderful stuff that we've talked about that wants to express. And then there's the nature of man, if you will, humanity, that wants to say, no, not now, my way. I know how to run this planet, even though it doesn't look that way for about 4,000 years. Okay? And this drama is happening, this I'm going to call it the dance. We could call it a battle, if we want to get into the Bhagavad Gita and have Arjuna on a battlefield, we could do that. But this dance, this expression, this of divine nature, human nature, of a nature that is freeing and a nature that is repressing, is involved in this process. And this process has gone on for, like I said, thousands of years. And along the way, there are martyrs, yes? There are people who get hurt in the dance. Breathe. The truth is, all of us get hurt in the dance. Because it's not that person out there, because that person and I are one. And so this dance is also happening within here. We all have this divine nature that wants to express, that wants to come out, and we want to be our highest and greatest self. And then we have this self that says, it's not convenient right now. And by the way, I kind of have a better idea than that. And it doesn't fit in my budget, doesn't fit in my schedule, and whatever, right? We have this nature that wants to kind of repress that and say, no, not yet, not now. And so we can either, when we view things like this, react or respond. We can either work out of the old patterns that have been going on for thousands of years, which is fighting back, fight, flight, or freeze, yes? Fight is, I'm going to fight all that. Flight is, I'm going to move to Australia. Freeze is, I'm just going to put my head down, pretend none of that is happening. If I just kind of keep low. Any of us who grew up in an abusive household know the be invisible, keep your head down, and hopefully you won't get a shot off, yes? Okay, and so there's a lot of that goes on in our culture. But we have to find new ways of responding. There's a passage in the book of Zechariah that says, in the Hebrew Bible, that says, not by might and not by power, but by God's Spirit alone shall the earth be restored. Not by might, not by power. And we sometimes get caught up in, well, who am I? I'm just a little person over here on wherever I am, and I'm powerless. And that's an illusion. And it's one, by the way, that the people who are doing some of this repressing stuff want us to keep in that delusion. I'm powerless. But the truth is that God is our power. As we stand in alignment with that infinite presence, we are not powerless. We are not powerless. And so is there something, how can I do something? What is mine to do, really, is the question that's being asked. And so the first thing to know is that all sides live within us. There's no us and them. Hate to tell you that. There's no us and them. And if you want to listen to the voice of the culture, there is very much an us and them. Right? But it's a lie. It's a surface appearance. And what we as spiritual beings are here to do is look past that surface experience. Not that there isn't some level of reality to it, but there's more than just what's happening on this surface. We can't reject any of it. I used the quote last week from Marcia Wieder in her book Dream. Personal growth work is typically about identifying what doesn't work for and about you, fixing it, or even doing away with it. Consciousness work is about seeing, honoring, and accepting all parts of yourself. Personal growth work is from that definition, is the part of us that says, I've got to suppress this, I've got to deal with this, I've got to put that down, I've got to kill it off. Consciousness work is the work that says, this is all part of the wholeness of myself. Can I see it? Can I honor it? Can I accept it? Doesn't mean I have to continue to engage in it, by the way, but can I see it, honor it, and engage it? I'm wearing my Jimi Hendrix socks today because I wanted to remind myself that Jimi Hendrix said that when the power of love surpasses the love of power, we will have peace on earth. When the power of love surpasses the love of power, we'll have peace on earth. So what we're being called to do, because all of this is always a call. Whatever's happening out here is a call for in here, yes? Yes? Okay. So what we're being called to do is understand the underlying nature, to release our fight, flight, freeze, and ask what is really being called for here. And what is really being called for here is expressing divine nature, expressing the nature of the infinite. And that's what, when we say, what can I do? I can be the highest form of divine nature that I can know how to be here, now, in this life, in this place. Right? That's our call. And I invite you to say yes to that call because it's needed. And that's why we were doing stuff like, this is my segue into the talk, the agreements. Because the agreements are one way of doing this. The agreements are a way of allowing the divine nature of us to start to express, to start to be in form. So this week we're taking a look at, this is if you remember, I've talked before about that the 12 agreements are arranged in sets of 3. And so this is the last one that's under the set of truth. What is the truth? What is the highest truth we know? Next week we'll start with acceptance, right? But today we're going to take a look at what's working and change what doesn't. Keep doing what is working. That's important, right? Because you can know what's working and then just not do it. And that doesn't work. Okay? And so these revolutionary agreements are in a flow. There's a sequence that's unfolding as we go through this. So the first one was, I live my truth. I sing my love into the world. I live my truth. I live the highest truth that I know, knowing that it's going to expand as I grow. That wherever I stand, whatever I know is absolutely true right here, right now, 25 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 minutes from now, I'm going to say, no, there's a little more than just that. Okay? Doesn't mean I was wrong or bad. It's just this was as high up the mountain as I could go and see, and this is the view I saw from there, and now I have been able to get up higher on the mountain and see more of a view. Yes? So I live my truth. The next one is I speak my truth with compassion. I put it out there, and I'm not going to jam it in your face. I speak my truth with compassion. I had the opportunity this past week, I was over visiting my friends Terry and Ross over in Ocean Shores. Some of you know them. And Ross and I were sitting in a hot tub in their club Friday morning. And there were about 3 other people in the hot tub. And they started saying, where are you from? And one of them said, well, I used to live in California. And one guy started going, oh, you're Governor Newscum. And yeah. And, 4th grade level, kind of name calling. And going on about how wonderful Trump was, and Fox News is the only news you should be watching, etc. And breathe. And Ross tried to talk him out of that a little bit. Tried to talk him out of the do you have to do name calling of other people, make really cool names. Didn't work for him. And I finally just said, I'm sitting there kind of like not saying anything. I finally just went, if this is the conversation that's going to happen in this hot tub, I'm leaving. And I started to leave. And the 2 parties that were sort of in it, the woman from California was a Democrat, and she made sure that we knew she was a Democrat. And so they both said, we'll stop. Just by speaking, the simple speaking of truth, I'm not going to put up with this conversation anymore, I will leave, was enough to say, let's change the picture. I didn't make anybody wrong. It's just, I don't want to be part of this. So that's the speaking of our truth with compassion. The third one that we talked about last week was I'm going to look within when I react. It's our favorite one so far, right? No, I'd rather blame them. We're going to look within when I react. So we're in a flow. We're going to live, we're going to speak, we're going to look within. And finally, as we look within, we see what does and doesn't work. And that's where we're at today. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. So as we look within, as we start to notice what's working and what doesn't working, like most of us will focus on which one? What doesn't work, right? So let's say that we do that. We have 3 options when we find out what doesn't work. 1, continue what we're doing anyway. Marion Head there refers to that as whining, not winning. Whining, not winning. Just do it louder. Just complain about it some more. I got to do this anyway. Get the Velcro attached to, That's the first thing we can do. Continue what we're doing, being miserable. The second thing is we can stop doing what we're doing and do something different. What an idea, yes? But occasionally we can't do that. And so the third thing is we can change our attitude about what we're doing. We can change how we frame it, if you will, in our minds. As we become more clear about what is my authentic truth to live and agree and commit to living that truth, then certain choices become much more clear. You know, this is the power of having a vision, having an intention, having something that pulls us forward and says, this is what I'm really about. If the truth I want is to live as a healthy person, my choices about food and my body and exercise and all that become more clear then if I'm not clear on that. Yes? You know, when I got diagnosed with diabetes 3 years ago, I got really clear on, I want to live. That is still my motto for a long time. And so every time I drive back by the Left Bank Bakery, you know, I just look at it and I go, I want to live, and keep on driving. Keep it simple. It's a choice that became very clear, right? So there's a subtle awareness about that. Keep doing what is working. Keep doing what is working. Don't get lazy. Don't well, yeah, it's already there. I don't have to work it. No, you keep doing, you know, it's like, okay, you know, I got fit in the gym, so now I don't have to go to the gym anymore. You know? Doesn't work that way. So as we live and speak our truth, we bump up against triggering situations. We become more aware of the patterns that don't support our truth, our highest truth, and we all find ourselves doing things that may challenge us. Yes? Like going to work, like, you know, eating healthy. I want to go to Left Bank. My little boy wants to just, you know, fill up with pastries and sugar and you know, all that stuff, right? To fill that empty hole that it thinks is there. So there's things that we have to do, we'll talk about that in a minute, that challenge us. And taking the third option of changing our attitude from I have to I get to opens the door to view things differently, to see the values and benefits of something that on the surface seems unappealing, but by shifting our perspective helps us to see the benefits and the ways that this is supporting living our truth. In a way, it becomes a gratitude practice, and it becomes a way of noticing what is working. You know, in my profession, I hear ministers who say, I have to go write my talk today. I have to. I never feel that way. I really don't even feel that way, because I know that writing talks and teaching classes is a joy for me and very much in line with my authentic self, my true authentic self. It's why I became a minister in the first place. It's my joy. It's my, Gay Hendricks in the book, The Big Leap, calls it our zone of genius. Doesn't mean I'm a genius, by the way. It just means that that's where we're doing what really gives us great joy, great juice, right? Somebody might even say, I might have even said occasionally, I have to go to this meeting. Don't listen to me, Carrie. Our council president back there. Which generates feelings of being victimized, put upon, and triggers feelings of resistance. How many of us want to do what we have to do, you know? But if I say, I get to go to this meeting, it starts to focus my attention on the joys and the benefits of being this. And even I found that there's this little part of me, can I let you in on a secret? Is it okay? Okay. Even if a part of me that wants to use this to say to a couple of people from my past who said I would never make it as a minister, who told me I couldn't make it, there's a little part of me that wants to say, I'm still a minister, and you're not. And I'm doing minister things, and this meeting is one of those minister things that I get to do, because I'm a minister. Now, these are the parts of you that might judge as being not the highest and most virtuous parts of yourself. But if indulging in a little see, I did it anyway, supports you, use it. Whatever you need to flip your attitude about it. Because from there, you'll start to see the other benefits and the other good stuff in what you're doing. So there's an exercise in this book that I want to invite you to take part in, to play with. It's recommended as an examination and noticing of and paying attention instead of running on our conditioned autopilot. Now, not you guys, but you know people who run on conditioned autopilot, yes? Yeah, none of us ever do that anywhere in our lives. Okay, maybe once in a while. And that's to occasionally make a pair of lists. The one list is 10 things that are working for me, and the second list is 10 things that are not working for me. And make it not, don't overthink the process. It's just like 10 things, as it comes to your mind, write them down, 10 things that are working, 10 things that are not working, just writing what first comes to mind, and then asking, as you look at the things that are not working, what are 3 positive things, changes I can make for the items that are on my not working list? What are 3 changes that I can make to create greater peace and joy in my life? And then finally, the question is, what is one small change I can make right now that will support me? And then the question that kind of goes with that is, and what am I waiting for? And does waiting work for me? Because the thing is, if you can write down the change that you are thinking about, this isn't really the spiritual practice, but that's okay. It's okay. It is the spiritual practice, but I notice people taking photographs and looking up there, and it's like, okay. The thing is, what am I waiting for? We already know what to do. We already know the change we should be making. What am I waiting for? And so just noticing that. Take a breath. Another way of playing with this, Marion shares a story about hanging out with a number of friends one evening around a fire, asking the question, what would you do if you had 1 week to live? What would you do if you had 1 week to live? And she said they all, these were wonderful, spiritual, kind of caring people, talked about how they would share their life knowledge with other people before they left, how they would communicate with other people. And then she said her teenage son, dang teenagers, right, decided to change the game a little bit, and he asked the question, what would you do if everybody else on earth had only 1 week to live? And at the end of the week, there was nobody there. In other words, nobody to share your wonderful wisdom with. And she said that after her first response, which was, I'd party hardy. Yeah. She said a deeper question emerged, and the question was, would I be doing this? Whatever this is. In her case, she talked about she would not be spending all of her time sitting in front of a computer. She would be more engaged with her family. And it's a wonderful way to look at what you're doing and say, is this what I would be doing if I only had 1 week to live? And that gets us more to what are our real values, what are our real priorities, what are our real true joys, which returns us to the examination of what is the truth that I want to live and speak and share? What is the truth that the infinite presence wants to live and experience and express as me? When I was a kid, I actually was one once, long time ago, like many of us. I used to love to read, I can't remember if it was G.I. Joe or Sergeant Rock comic books. 2 kind of, World War II, fighter type characters. And there's one particular one that I remember, and I can't remember if it was Sergeant Rock or G.I. Joe. Let's just say it was G.I. Joe. And their group, their platoon or whatever, is pinned down by a German machine gun in a bunker, right? And they're trying to take it out so they can advance, and it's killing anybody who comes near it. People have tried and failed to take it out. And finally, let's say Sergeant Rock. Sergeant Rock realizes that he's seen the script in the comic book, so he knows that he's the guy who has to take it out, right? So I do that with TV shows every once in a while. Somebody says, why did you do that? And I want to sit there and go, because he read it in the script. He was supposed to do that. But anyway, Sergeant Rock says, realize it's up to him. If it is to be, it's up to me. And so it shows him saying, what do I need? Asking the question, what do I need? And so he takes off his helmet. He takes off his dual ammo belt, that he's got. He tosses away his machine gun. He tosses away his pistol. He's taken off all the stuff and going, I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. And finally, the final frame is he picks up a grenade and says, this is all I need. It's a wonderful way of sorting out what is it that I really need in my life. And yes, it's kind of violent and all that, yeah. But it takes us to what is the essence. Because oftentimes we're trying to drag along a whole bunch of extra stuff that's weighing us down. Yes? What is it that I really need to live my truth? What is it that I really need to be the highest and best that I can be? And finally, with this whole process, there's a balancing question that's important to ask, to be explored in this process, and that is, how can I have this work for everyone? See, because we can sit there and go, I'm going to change this and I don't care about the consequences. I'm going to leave my husband or wife. I'm going to quit my job and move to Tahiti or whatever. How can I make this work for everyone? The more aligned with our spiritual, authentic truth question. Because when we align with our authentic spiritual truth, it works for all because there's only one. Yes? There's only one. So whenever I go for my highest good, it has to be a highest good for all involved. My good, my truth does not come at the expense of yours. As Buffy likes to say, God is not a piece of pie. That you slice it up and take one piece away and then there's less of God. There's not less of your good. What is the good that works for me that will also lift all ships? And it may not be apparent at first, and there may be some looking within to be done to realize that, and there may be some remembering that we can't force another person to look within or to see their good, but our highest good supports the highest good of everyone else. And that's what we're here to do. See, you might get upset if we're married and I say I really feel like I need to move on. At the time, your partner may get upset. 5, 10 years down the road, they may look back and say that was the best thing for both of us. Several of us have had that experience. So listening to our authentic self, how can I make it a win-win? So life involves change. Newsflash, life involves change. In fact, life is change. And we can either be shoved along by the process, pushed by pain and discomfort, or we can consciously participate by paying attention, by having a clear vision and clear intentions as we go along and flowing with life to express greater joy, greater good. The choice is ours. We get to play with it the way we want. Recently we have a little change that's going to be happening here in the community, in that Heather's decided that this being our vocalist doesn't work for her very well. Yes? And so, she's in the process of, in a win-win way, she hasn't packed up her bags and said, I'm out of here and going to leave you guys high and dry, but is going to stay with us for a little bit longer as Brent finds another vocalist or vocalists or, whatever that works. And which allows her to spend more time with her family, because she shared with me that she's spending 7 days a week working, and she has 2 daughters that, kind of need some mom time. Or maybe mom needs some 2-daughter time. I'm not sure which it is, but a little balance of both. And so ultimately what I know is out of this is going to come a win-win situation in which everybody will be blessed. Right? And so life is change. We came through the loss of, what was her name? Amy. I'm teasing. Amy, if you're watching this, I know who you are. We experienced, Amy, after almost 10 years, saying, I'm retiring. This is not working for me in my life anymore. I think she said, I'm not 21 anymore, and I can't feed my life on run my life on caffeine and no sleep, I think it was, or something to that effect, And so it's noticing that it's change, and life involves change. And we can make it a win-win process if we are consciously choosing. So this week, I'm going to invite you, this is on page 95 of the book, for those of you who are have the book and are following along and paying attention to the book. Make those 2 lists, what is and what isn't working, review them, and make changes that support greater inner joy and peace for you. Are you willing to play with that this week? Great. Buffy leads conversation forums, every Sunday after these talks, after the service at 2 o'clock at her house, 2 to 4. And I'm sure that she's going to be walking you through that or inviting you through that process today as part of that. And if not, hint, hint, yeah. And if not, do it on your time. But I encourage you to actually do this. It's wonderful to review every once in a while what's working for me, what isn't working for me, what do I want to do about it. It's very simple, but it brings consciousness to our lives. Are you willing to play with that? Yeah. I want to close with a quote. This is from the book from Marian Head. She says, I encourage you to celebrate what is working in your life and change what is not. Remove the emotional clutter of what's not working. Peace on earth begins within. Live a positive life by building on the experiences that feed your soul, nurture your heart, and stimulate your natural intelligence. Nudge your neighbor and say, you have a natural intelligence. You have a natural intelligence. Eliminate or shift those experiences that drain your energy and light. Life is a grand experience. How about if you woke up every morning and go, life is a grand experience and I'm here to play? Let's enjoy the freedom to learn from it, change how we interact with it, and live it with inner joy and peace. And our affirmation this week, I agree to keep this with me. I agree to keep doing what works and change what doesn't. Say it one more time with me. I agree to keep doing what works and change what doesn't. So I do, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you.